Hello, I'm Father George Salzman. We're here at the Harvard Catholic Center. We're beginning a new academic year, and we're starting one of our programs that looks at some of the great thinkers in the Catholic tradition. And we're starting tonight with one of the most interesting, perhaps the foremost thinker of the 19th century, John Henry Cardinal Newman, recently sainted by the Catholic Church, recently canonized. He was someone who spent half his life as an Anglican, a priest, half his life as a Catholic, becoming a cardinal, his vindication at the end of his life. And he was someone who captured very well what we're involved in here, the love of learning and the love of God. And that's our main aim through everything at the Harvard Catholic Center. And that was the aim throughout his life, his aim to learn more about God, love God, and elucidate the faith. So in the first half of his life as an Anglican, he was trying to renew the life of the Anglican Church and purify it of false influences and bring it back to its apostolic roots. And did great work there. In fact, when I grew up in Philadelphia, the church a couple of blocks away, the Anglican Church, the whole inside of it, the way things were set, showed direct influence across the Atlantic of his Oxford movement, of which he was really the preceptor. And you really saw the impact that he had far away, a century later, of the impact that still endured of John Henry Newman, but it's John Henry Newman the Anglican. He became an Oxford Don. He also, a professor at Oxford, he also was someone who had a working class parish nearby. He founded another church on the outskirts in another direction, and then he ended up as the chaplain at Great St. Mary's. So he was the Oxford Anglican chaplain. And along the way, he had some time free from students, so he went to do research. And his goal, his aim was to show that the Anglican tradition was the via media, sort of the high road between the two breakdown lanes of Catholicism and Protestantism. And he looked into the fathers to try to prove what he thought was the obvious truth. And the more he researched, the more he became disarmed by the fact that the facts didn't necessarily support his hypotheses. In fact, they contradicted them. And he came upon two things that he hadn't sought at all. He said were sort of a thwack at the back of the head twice, where he saw that where Augustine was then, Augustine a benchmark to any of us, the Catholic Church was now, not the Anglican Church. And so they gave him pause to the point that he finally realized that he had to leave the Anglican Church and become a Catholic, which indeed took place. Become a Catholic convert, he then went to Rome, studied for the priesthood, was ordained and so on, and gradually was had more and more missions piled on his shoulders. One of them was to help the Irish bishops found a university for Ireland. Not so easily done in the midst of the famine and so on, but that's what he was charged with, but he didn't necessarily find the support. And then by the English bishops, he was asked to do a translation of the Bible. Bishop Challoner, saintly Bishop Challoner, was someone who was harried from pillar to post, put in prison and so on. It was difficult for him to achieve the translation, so they asked if there would be a new fresh one by John Henry Newman, and he agreed. But in neither of these matters was he much supported, and we could think of other examples I won't tire with where he wasn't supported as well. At which point you call me short and you say, well, how could it be that someone who gave up everything, not simply his living and his chaplaincy, but also his friends and family in many ways, in becoming a Catholic, how is it he couldn't be supported by the Church? And the reason was he was about a century ahead of his time. And I always thought that distinction is captured well by the difference between an expert and a genius. An expert is someone who can hit a target most of us can't hit at all. A genius is someone who can hit a target that we simply can't see. So to learn more about him, tonight, Wednesday night the 29th, we'll be having a discussion with David Kiplinger, a newly ordained deacon of Jesuits, and here in our conference room. And we have grad students, professional school students, and postdocs who will be joining together to discuss a particular sermon by John Henry Cardinal Newman tonight. Here we are at the Catholic Center. It's really a synthesis of the love of learning and the love of God, and it seems an eminent way to start the semester. Take care. God bless you.